Abba Father Yahweh, thank you so much for bringing us all together to study your letters and your words and your sounds and your essence and your character and your fame, name, and renown and your plan for each and every one of us and for all of your people as a whole, your daughters and your sons and your children, to become truthful, righteous, and justice, and merciful and long suffering, and patience and strong to endure everything that you have set out before us swiftly and easily with a smile on our face. Thank you so much, Yahweh, for bringing us all together. Thank you so much for bringing Eric to this revelation and this path. Thank you for revealing it to his mind and his soul and his heart and writing it down into existence for our eyes and ears and mouths to hear and see and speak to others, to unfold from the above down to the below, from the inner out to the outer. Thank you, Yahweh, for blossoming all of us into beautiful flowers of your creation. And we thank each and every one of you for joining to learn from you, Eric, and to learn from what the Father has bestowed upon you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Yahusha. Thank you, Yahweh. Amen. Hallelujah. Woo!
So here it is, the Cinco de Mayo of 2024. We're going to talk about Revelation chapter 7 is the primary regard. So I was going to start off here reading the translation from the Aramaic English New Testament by Andrew Gabriel Roth. I'm not sure if he's the one who sat there and determined the meaning of each word written in the Aramaic. And just so you know, there was two forms of this text. One had Aramaic, for lack of a better description, letters, which looked really strange to me, totally foreign, weird. And the other version, which is this one, has the modern, what you would call the square font, or the Chaldean flame letters, as I understand them to be. That's used in the Hebrew text, or the Aramaic text, with Hebrew letters. So that being said, as I've said before, some words are spelled different. But if you can recognize the prefixes and suffixes and disregard them and find the 2 or 3 letter root word, that should pretty much tell you the same meaning in Hebrew as it is in this Aramaic use. There's a few words which do not show up in Klein's dictionary. For example, one spelled Kaf Dalet, just not in there. Kaf is a prefix, means like. Dalet is used as a prefix a lot of the times. In the Aramaic, many, many words have a dalet in front of whatever the other letters are. For example, just look at a random word here, dalet shin mem yod aleph. Well, shin mem yod aleph is heavens, and dalet is the prefix letter that basically just means of. If it was Hebrew, you might say, well, look at the word dalet shin mem, dasham, and yod aleph you'd think of would maybe be the suffix, but the word right below it in another word, dalet, mem, tav, zion, yod, ayin, aleph. So dalet, again, is basically of. Mem is a place or one who, or turning something of a non-substantive noun like knowledge. It's a noun, but it's not of substance, not an object. Tav, well, tav as a word means in Hebrew sub, hypo, or from under, like intravenously, from inside out, or you inject something subdermal. So Zion Yod Ayin, or Zion Ayin, would be the word. And that's just, for example, that's the last word in verse 13. says is shaken by a strong wind. I'd have to look that up. That was just a random Revelation 6. Anyway, here, let me go on with Revelation 7. I'm just saying that, you know, when you're reading these, so here's my point. The word that we talked about last week was Revelation 10, and there was a word spelled Aleph Yod Tav. And it was in the Klein's dictionary, I said it meant to spell words phonetically, which is to say, look at the spelling of the words and give a phonetic sound. Like if you're in English going to spell the word cat, at three sounds, this what we give the C sound, the A vowel sound, and then the T sound. That's how you speak, that's how you spell, that's how you read. Hebrew works the exact same way. So if you, however, look at the translation in Revelation 10 of that word, it just basically means is. Well, how do they get that? Aleph Yod Tav. Aleph Vav Tav, as I've said before, means a sign, a symbol to swear an oath. You might say the stipulations of that oath, and a letter of the alphabet. So a letter of the alphabet can then, my assimilation of these concepts is that everything that Aleph Vav Tav means, even though it looks like a bunch of different definitions, they're all numerous facets or aspects of one meaning. The meaning is, what's Aleph Vav Tav? You can say, well, what's the big deal about Aleph Vav Tav? Well, Yahuwah uses his name quite often in reference to Elohim Zavot, Zadi Bet Aleph Vav Tav. Well, Zadi Bet Aleph is the word for army or legion, and Vav Tav is the plural, so armies, legions, and you'll see in the Stone Tanakh, they'll translate it master of legions or captain of forces, the commanding officer of armies, Zavaot. But Nun Zadi Bet, put a different prefix in front of Zadi Bet, it means to, it's a picture of a knife handle or a sword handle of something stabbed in, as it were, like Excalibur, picture that. To why, I mean, when do you ever see a knife handle stuck into something? You might take a knife and stab it into a potato and leave it sitting there as a place to hold the knife so it's not laying horizontal. It's the concept of sticking something in that which is not going to fall over or easily moved. That's Nun Zadi Bet. Well, Zadi Bet is also turtle and covered wagon. It's like, what does that have to do with anything? Well, my mind would say, well, what's the difference between a turtle and something else? What do you mean something else? A giraffe, a penguin? Let's say a turtle and a lizard. Well, the turtle's got the big inflated back, the shell. What's a covered wagon? Well, compared to a flatbed trailer, it's got the big inflated house covering, as it were. So Zadi Bet Aleph means to swell up, to inflate, to amass. So if Zadi Bet Aleph Vav Tav, Zavot, it means armies. Armies compared to what? If you have a big open field where there's got one or two farmers working, okay, that's the normal. And then when you call for a military assembly, all the farmers pick up their weapons, whether it's pitchforks or rifles, and they group together. Now you have an army of what otherwise would be just individual people, men. So you could say, well, then that's concept where each individual is one thing, but all of a sudden when it swells up or it inflates and amasses, now it's this force, an army, a legion, a host, letter of the alphabet. So to take the concept of Aleph Vav Tav, a letter of the alphabet, well, in the processing, the reverse engineering of the spelling of words, you know, as I've said, you could take yods and vavs and drop them in between the other letters, and it doesn't really change it. It's a derivative. It gives other aspects of consideration. Well, take out the yods and vavs, and what you have is Aleph Tav. What's Aleph Tav? Aleph Tav is the fourth of 7 words in Genesis 1:1. Bereshit bara Elohim, Aleph Tav, et. Hashemayim, va'et haaretz. So the Aleph Tav is a standalone by itself there, the fourth word, but the va'et haaretz has a hyphen. It's like, I don't know when the hyphens came to be used, but the point is the standalone Aleph Tav is a little different regard. Supposedly nobody knows what it means or why it's there. Yeshua in Revelation claiming to be the Aleph Tav. Oh, that's him. So Bill Sanford did the what was it called? The Matt's Messianic Aleph Tav Scripture. He died a couple of years ago, but he was saying, okay, well, because Yeshua said, I'm the Aleph and Tav, then in Revelation, that whenever you see the Aleph Tav, that's Yeshua. So I've heard people say, every time Aleph Tav is written, that's Jesus. It's like, not exactly necessarily. That's one way of thinking about it. But then in looking at this Aramaic translation, well, guess what? They don't have Yeshua saying, I'm the Aleph Tav. It's Yahuwah, him, the Father, himself claiming to be the Aleph Tav. Well, is it the Father saying, I'm the Aleph Tav, or is it the Son saying, I'm the Aleph Tav? Well, the two are one. John 14:6. Seen me, seen the Father. How do these things work? You can imagine they work any way you want. You can believe anything you want. That's up to you. That's your work out your own salvation in fear and trembling. I'm trying to make sense of what I see written. So if Yeshua in John 14 says, and at the prayer of Gethsemane in John 17, he basically is not saying, I am my Father. He says, I am so in line, so unified, so echad with my Father, that he said to his disciples, if you've seen me, what is that word to see? I mean, eyes placed on him, or is it comprehending, perceiving, understanding what I'm saying? It is translated in English as the word to see. But I don't believe it means to see with your eyeballs, looking at. The word ayin, eye, which is used here in Revelation 7, actually verse 3, literally, you look in Klein's dictionary, weigh carefully, balance exactly, measure precisely, determine meticulous, pedantic, punctilious, exact detail. He said do that regarding him and his stuff and his ways. Make it your obsession to scrutinize every little thing. What little thing? The letters is about as small a thing as you can get. Well, then some people say, well, there's the dots and lines under the letters, the nikud, nicked, scratches, lines. Those are the vowels those were added later, centuries later. So I disregard the nikud. I disregard the vowels, the lines and dots, and to look at the paleo, just simply the letter value as being the smallest piece, the smallest element, like the table of elements in chemistry. Those are what makes up an atom? What the variations in the elements are because there's more electrons and neutrons. Well, what are those made out of? I'm not trying to deal with what are the letters made out of. We're trying to say what do the letters mean, and then stringing those together in the natural sequence, such as we have it. And you could say, well, who knows if they're just randomly associated with each other, and they could be any order. It could be any order. But David in Psalms 119 classifies everything, Aleph through Tav, 22 letters. So we got that. David was a man who had his eyes in the book pretty often. So for lack of any other way of looking at things, we've got that. And if that's not sufficient, then you can find some other reason if you want. But what I'm saying is that for me to look at Aleph Vav Tav and say, well, that's an important word because it means letter of the alphabet, it's also a significant aspect of his name. And if he says Zadi Bet, Aleph Vav Tav, it's not a turtle with a letter of the alphabet written on his back. It's not necessarily captain of armies, master of forces, because master of legions, because the word master or captain isn't even there. It's Yahuwah Zavot or Yahweh Elohim Zavot. Yahweh Zavot, Elohim of Israel. Yahuwah Zavot. Well, Yahuwah, Yod He Vav He. He Vav He means to cause to exist. Yod prefix means he will. So he will cause to exist what? Whatever. No, it's not whimsically whatever. It's like this knife handle stuck in the Zadi Bet of Aleph Vav Tav. So me choosing to see that that's what it means. Zadi is a flourishing, a blossoming, a resurrection from the dead. Today, Cinco de Mayo, May the 5th, happens to be on the Julian calendar, Resurrection Day, Easter Sunday for the Orthodox Church, the Julian calendar, just for timestamp, just for a reference. So it's the great Zadi Day, according to them. Friday was the day of the crucifixion, so 3 days and 3 nights later, you've got Sunday morning being Easter, from Friday night to Sunday morning. 3 days and 3 nights? Wait a minute, I remember hearing as a kid that was supposed to be, Yeshua said, one sign you're being given, that it's going to be like the sign of the prophet Jonah, 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the fish, in the heart of the earth. So you got crucified Friday afternoon, and if the day starts in the evening, it was right around that time that they took him off and threw him in the grave. So he's got Friday night, Saturday day, Saturday night, and then he raises Sunday morning. So he's got 2 days and a night. That equals 3 days and 3 nights, because any part of a day is equal to a full day. So they say, them Jews, them crazy Jews, that's the way they count. So if you even have 2 minutes on Friday and the sun hasn't set, well, that counts as Friday. And if he wakes up, gets out of the grave Sunday morning within 30 seconds of the day, that counts as the whole day. So whoa, 3 days and 3 nights. Just so you know what they tell us. And every year is like, huh? Okay, well, the big shots, the scholars, they know what they're talking about. Them crazy Jews obviously don't know what they're talking about. Or they have weird customs that I don't know what they're talking about. Any part of a day is equal to a whole day? Well, who's counting? Okay, whatever, it doesn't matter. He died, he was crucified, he rose from the dead. Okay, well, that's all that matters. Well, except Michael Rood comes up with this thing called the Jonah Code, where every little thing matters. Anyway, who's counting? Mem Nun is to count. Shemen, Shin Mem Nun, is the word oil, but it also then means to count. Sefer is the word scroll or book, but it also means to count. Seal the book. Chet Tav Mem, the Sefer. That's what Daniel was told in Daniel 12:4. Archangel Gabriel commissioned him to hide the book, to Chetam the Sefer. And then in Isaiah 29, he was told to take the sealed book, the Chetam Sefer, and give it to somebody and say, read this, please. And he says, I can't read it. It's sealed. He said, give it to the illiterate man. He says, Lo Yarati Sefer. I don't know books. I don't know how to read. I'm illiterate. So what's in the sealed book? Well, Revelation 10 happens to be, in verse 2, it says, well, here, I'll start reading verse 1. And after these things, after what things? After, through Revelation 6. And that's the 5th seal. Verse 10 of Revelation 6. And they, these, back up. Verse 9 of Revelation 6. And when he, this angel, had opened the 5th seal, well, it wasn't an angel, it was the Lamb, must have been nibbling on the seal, and breaking open the whatever the seal was on the scroll. He saw under the altar the souls of them who were slain on account of the word of Elohim and on account of the testimony to the Lamb which was with them. On account of, well, we could look at that and say, what word is that and how does that work? But let's move on. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, how long, O Master Yahweh? How long? Well, remember, ayin dalet is the word translated until. Until the time, Daniel 12:4. Hide the words until the book, until the time. And if you look over here in Aramaic, it's written ayin dalet mem aleph. That's the word how long. So ayin dalet is the word until, that's a process in time. Dalet mem is the word for blood, but dalet mem is also means similar. And then it's got the aleph suffix like the Canadian, eh? Adama, eh? And it says, how long, O Master Yahweh, you set apart and true, do you not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? This is the fifth seal. Remember the four seals, or the four horses of the apocalypse, and here's the fifth seal. And it's, okay, people have been killed for being Yahweh's people on account of the word of Elohim. They cried with a loud voice, how long? You're asking about some kind of an ayin dalet. And to each one of them was given a white robe, and it was told that they must be quiet yet a little while till the consummation of their fellow servants and brothers who were to be killed as they had been. What? So Yahweh's got a plan for, I'm going to kill a whole bunch of people who love me that I promised to protect. When I'm done killing them all, or allowing the bad guys to kill them all, that's when. It's like, what the heck, man? Verse 12, and I looked when he had opened the sixth seal. Now, this was the sixth seal. That's all for the fifth seal. So the fifth seal has to do with when? Is that the same as the seal that's in Daniel 12? Hide the words and seal the book until the time of the end? Until when? A bunch of people got to die? Why are they going to die? And is that all of a sudden at the tribulation after the four horsemen of the apocalypse riding on those four-colored horses, or the people under the altar? They were killed on account of the word of Elohim. What's the word of Elohim? Well, I would say that's the Torah. No, the word of Elohim is Yeshua. He's the word made flesh anyway. But the word of Elohim, is that the alphabet? Or what's the word of Elohim? If I go back to 9, boy, I didn't plan on doing this. I'd have to sit there. Mem Lamed. No, that wouldn't be it. Well, I'd have to sit there and try to figure out which is the word of Elohim, because it doesn't necessarily just say it so easily. The word, I don't even see the word Elohim here. Oh, there it is. So it is Mem Lamed Tav Aleph. That's one word. That'd be the word. And then Dalet Aleph Lamed Hey Aleph. So that's the word of Elohim. So see, Mem Lamed Lamed is a word or to speak, similar to Debar, similar to Amer, Dalet Bet Resh, and Aleph Mem Resh. So here it's Mem Lamed Tav Aleph. Well, Mem is in the place of, and then Lamed Tav Aleph. Well, Lamed Tav is the word that means to moisten, I believe. Moisten. Well, Mem Lamed Lamed. See, you have to know, if you can't find the word in the dictionary, what's going on? Well, if you double the second letter and make it the second and the third, sometimes you'll find the word. So I know Mem Lamed Lamed, Malala, is meaning to speak. And then it says Dalet Aleph Lamed Hey Aleph. So Dalet of Aleph Lamed Hey, though that's Allah with an A Aleph suffix, which is kind of this, just like I said, it's kind of like a throwaway, like the Dalet's a throwaway prefix, Aleph's a throwaway suffix in Aramaic. Well, it doesn't say Eloah, it says Allah. So anybody who gets upset over the name of the Islamic deity referred to as Allah, it's Aramaic. That's what it's called here. Question is, what's his character and identity? Is it the same deity? That's the question. And on account of, a testimony. Well, here the next word is vav mem tet lamed. Mem tet lamed then would be on account of. And I thought that that had something to do with the dew or patchy. Account of the testimony, samik hey dalit, vav tav aleph. Well, samik hey dalit. Well, samik dalit is sod, or samik vav dalit is sod, is the foundation. It's the testimony to the Lamb. Dalit Yod Shin Vav Ayin, the Yeshua, which was with them. Yeshua, Hey Yod, Dalit, Aleph Yod Tav. There's that word again. Hey Vav Aleph, Lamed, Hey Vav Nun. Wait a minute, I don't see the word lamb. Yod Shin Vav Ayin is Yeshua. Hey Yod is basically here. Dalit Aleph Yod Tav is to spell a word. Hey Vav Aleph, he, it, Lamed Hey Vav Nun, Lahon. See, what I'm trying to show you is that even knowing some words, looking at these letters and comparing them in the dictionary, knowing all their Hebrew, I don't see how he comes up with some of these translational meanings. I just don't see it. Now, I'm not saying he's wrong, Andrew Gabriel Roth, or wherever he got it. Maybe he's one to translate it, because I don't know. I'm just saying it'll really kick you in the head. I just don't understand. But here again is that word Aleph Vav Tav. And if I say, well, wait a minute, like Aleph Vav Tav means a letter of the alphabet, I know, because I've bumped into it before, that in Hebrew, Aleph Yod Tav means to spell words letter by letter, phonetically. Again, what's Aleph Tav? If it's Yeshua, first and last letters, or if it's Yahuwah, or if it's the original word, John 1:1, in the beginning, Elohim invented a word, determined. Some people don't like that word invent. It's like, whatever. He's the guy who came up with the idea to have a word and then to make the word and create and construct and fit the word with everything it has in it and then present it. Though there was no cosmos yet, or angels or anybody to present it to, he just presents this word first, and then everything else that came into existence was via the conduit conducted by that word. And if that word's the Aleph Tav, and then the word became flesh and dwelt among us, well, that's the Yahusha guy, aka JC, otherwise known as Jesus Christ. Yeah, but what's that word? Well, if that word's the original 22 letters and everything it means, then knowing how to use those letters, what function they have, like, do you know the difference in the table of elements of chemistry? What's the difference between helium and oxygen, or hydrogen, or carbon, or cobalt? It's like, there's a difference. Similar but different, maybe, some of them, gases, solids, liquids. But these letters, the fact that they are what they are, and then to look at John 1 verse 2, and the word was with Elohim, and the word was Elohim. It's like, why don't they say it is Elohim and it is with? Because the concept of isness is kind of alephhness, and aleph comes before bet. So the word is Elohim, present tense, and with. Well, the letter bet is a prefix letter that means in, on, with, among, through, against, in the condition of, or for the price of. All those, any one of those meanings, if you see the letter bet in front of a word, it could either be the first letter of a word, or it can mean any one of those because it's a prefix. For example, there's a word here, bekol, bet kuf lamed aleph. Now I know that's verse 10 of Revelation 6. It also shows up in Revelation 7. It talks about with a voice. So it says Vav Kuf Aleph, and we talked once before, a couple of weeks ago, that kuf aleph is the word to quack or bleat or low, to make a whack, whack, woof, woof, an animal sound of whack, 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 whack. That's kuf aleph, or kuf ayin, excuse me, kuf ayin. So here, vav kuf ayin vav, bet kuf lamed aleph, resh bet aleph. So it with a voice, bet kuf lamed rava, great, resh bet aleph. Cried with a loud voice. That's the souls. I'm just saying, so part of doing with this with the Aramaic, you have to say, well, I know that kuf vav lamed is the word voice. Kuf lamed means to weigh. Kuf ayin is to make some kind of a noise. Resh bet aleph is like the word rabbi is resh bet or resh bet yod. Multiply in either quantity or significance would be resh bet bet, rabab, ravavot. So I could say, and this otherwise regarded as a animal noise, as in the condition of a kuf lamed, a voice determined to be significant, resh bet aleph, vayamer, ayin dalet mem hey, vayamer, and saying, ameriin, adama, when or the period of time, but dalet mem is not just blood, but it's also likeness and similarity. Lamed, then the next was lamed aleph mem tav. Well, aleph mem tav is the word truth, emet. Aleph mem tav yod. According to my truth, lamed aleph mem tav yod. And then here's that word Maria, mem resh yod aleph. We talked about this a few weeks ago. And I look here and says, how long, O Master Yahweh? Well, I don't see Master Yahweh written here anywhere, because they've taken mem resh yod aleph and said that means Master Yahweh. Mem resh, they're giving it as master, where we get in English Mr., and yod aleph being the essential equivalent of yod he vav he, which it's not. It's just yod aleph. Are you saying anytime there's yod aleph, it means yod he vav he? Well, then why should Maria, mem resh yod aleph, be translated, O Master Yahweh? You set apart and true. The word kaddish, kuf dalet yod shin aleph, and then the word true, you'd think, well, that was the word emet, but see, that came before, but vav shin resh yod resh. Is that the word true? Sharir. Sharir riyara. Sharir. Well, shin resh, sar, that's prince, that's poet, captain, bracelet chain. True? Does that mean true? So I have to look up every one of these things and say, that's not what I would have expected. But I could sit here, now I could take that same exact verse and rethink this and say, animal noises, as it were, as a great voice, a significant voice, say when similarity according to my truth. Then I could say mem resh yod aleph, mem in the condition of resh yod aleph. Well, mem resh is bitter, but what's resh yod? Resh aleph hey is to see or put on exhibition. This is resh yod aleph, like putting the yod wild card between resh and aleph, and then the hey is just not there. So it's like, how much are you allowed to mess around with the spelling of these words? And what I'm saying is this, look, you're doing this on your own time. You can mess around with it all you want, because I don't know how trustworthy the translation is by the professionals. If I say resh aleph hey is the word that means to see, visually to see, but it also means to perceive, to allow to see, to put something on exhibition. Well, what's being put on exhibition? The object, the mem, of resh yod aleph or resh aleph hey, what is being put on exhibition? The kaddish Kuf Dalet Shin, bump in this word Shin Resh Yod Resh. Okay, I'm gonna look that word up. Shin Resh Yod Resh. Dictionary's here a moment ago. What the heck? Where'd it go? Ah, here, buried. I'm just trying to show you a process of Shin Resh Resh, to be strong, firm. You know, like the word prince, Sar Shalom, Prince of Peace, to rule, to reign, to dominate. Made himself ruler. Shin Resh Resh, remember a bracelet chain, a navel chain, navel string, or navel. Shin Resh Resh, hey, rule, rulership, authority, office of ruler and commander. That's Shin Resh Resh. Shin Resh Yod Resh, sinew or muscle, strong, firm, hard, enduring, stubborn, obduracy, arbitrariness, arbitrary. Hey, wait a minute. He said it means true. Set apart and true. It doesn't say true. It's a synonym with that word zodi bet, something that's stuck in, that's planted, which is established, which isn't going to be changed. But it doesn't say true. So, muscular, strong, firm, enduring, stubborn. So, just as a random example, I can't trust this translation. I can't trust the translation in the King James, and I can't trust the translation in Stone's Tanakh because of stuff like this. So I then have to sit here and say, well, what is he saying? They cried with a loud voice. Now, here's the souls under the altar who have been slain, killed by their enemies for the sake of the word of Elohim, the Mem Lamed Lamed. And Mem Lamed Lamed is not just the Debar or the Amer, it's something that he said. It's the object of Lamed Lamed. Well, Lila, Lamed Lamed, is to turn around like spiral staircase. That's the word for night. Delilah. What are they being killed for? How long you not judge and avenge our blood on account of the testimony to the Lamb which was with them? Okay, now the Lamb, isn't he the guy that's fighting off or taking off the seals on the that lamb? But yet the word lamb isn't in here. We'll see that. I think in the chapter 7 we bump into the same thing. It's like, where's the word lamb? Is that the word Yeshua? Yod Shin Vav Aleph? Is that Dalet Yod Shin Vav Aleph? Is that the word they're translating as lamb? Are you allowed to do that? Or maybe it's the word Mem Tet Lamed, which is the word that means spotted. And lambs are spotted. So maybe that's the lamb. It's also the word, I believe, it was the word for dew, D-E-W, because dew can be splotchy on the ground or spotted areas. And so if you look in the dictionary, you'll see that that's the way a lot of words are translated. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about the word for dew, or not yet, or here it's actually raining. Maybe that was Tet Lamed. Anyway, my point is, the relationship between it's not yet happening and now it's really happening. See, the word for rain is it's happening. You know, something was prophesied. Okay, we're waiting. Hello. Oh, now it's happening. And that's the same word as raining. Rain as in water from the sky, not raining as in Shin Resh Resh, one who rules, dominating. And so when it says, how long, you who are set apart and true, or is it saying, when the truth of what you made perceptible of what's kadosh and dominion enduring stubbornly, not It says lo dinat, which is to say not judged. Well, is it that he's going to judge our death? Avenge our blood? Dalit mem nun. Tav bet ayin tav is the word then for avenge our blood on them. Dalit yod nun is the word dan with judge. Our blood, Dalit mem nun upon Aleph mem vav or ayin mem vav resh. But what? How come this other word, tav bet ayin tav? Bet ayin means to bubble up. Why isn't that? I don't see that here. Them that dwell on the earth. Does that have something to do with avenge? I thought Judge Dan was avenged. See, I've bumped into other places here, more than one or two, where it seems like one of the words just isn't regarded. So the question is, I don't know whether if somebody's trying to write the translation, they're trying to make it fit to what other people have already translated and expect, or they say, look, I don't know Aramaic. Somebody else knows Aramaic, and he knows that that word means this, and Memresh Yod Aleph means Maria. It's pronounced Maria means Master Yahweh. It's like okay, whatever you say. But if I'm going to sit here and try to read these things, I'm going to try to make sense of this and say they're wondering how long until the truth of what's kadosh, which is the reign, the dominion of Yahuwah, is made manifest on our enemies who think they can just go around and kill us with no regard, no consequence to them. I mean, didn't Yahuwah say that he's our champion, our defender, our fortress, our refuge, our Elohim, and he's not going to let people just willy-nilly take out their aggression, steal everything that he gives us? Didn't he say that he would do that? Well, then how can all these thousands, maybe millions of souls under the altar say, come on, when are you going to do what you said? Hello? Should we even be talking to him like that? That's what they're saying. And he says, well, just a little while longer. A few more, you guys got to be killed first. That's the fifth seal. See, that's kind of disturbing. We're going to bump into maybe, because nobody knows, but we're going to bump into maybe why all those guys are dead. Leviticus 26 and Deuteronomy 28 and Isaiah 30. There's a bunch of other places too, but how long do you not avenge? Do you not judge and avenge? Okay, so judge is Dalit Yod Nun, and the word avenge is that Tav Bet Ayin. Bring to the surface and deal with it. Our blood on them that dwell on the earth. Give the children some cookies and punch and let them wait. Give them a white robe and just say, calm down, you guys. Just everything's under control. Is that what he's doing? They told them they must be quiet. Just let a while younger. And wear a white robe. It should be okay with you. And then I looked, and he had opened the sixth seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun became black, sackcloth of hair. The moon became like blood. Stars of heaven fell to the earth. Like a fig tree casts its unripe figs when it's shaken by strong wind. Heaven separated like a scroll rolled up, and all the mountains and islands were removed out of their places. All the mountains and islands are just ripped out of their places. I mean, we're talking about an earthquake, and a lot of people's homes are going to be pretty well destroyed at that event. And the kings of the earth, and the nobles, and the captains of thousands, and the rich men, and the men of valor, and every servant and free man hid themselves in caves and the clefts of the mountains. Well, there's big talk on the internet these days that wealthy people are building safe houses, deep underground bunkers. Is that going to do them any good when all the mountains are just ripped out and the islands are flooded with tsunamis? And In verse 16, they said to the mountains, to the clefts, fall over us, hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of their wrath is come, and who's able to stand? And so it's like, okay, well then, is that the end of it, everything? But that's just the sixth seal. I mean, there's a bunch of other bad stuff going to happen. And so from what I've heard all the years, nobody knows in Revelation whether there's a series of events or whether it's happening all at once, or it's like kind of Lila, where it's around and around and around, where it tells us the same thing numerous different ways. Nobody knows. But getting into chapter 7, and after these things, okay, well, that sure sounds sequential. I see 4 messengers who stood on the 4 corners of the earth. So it is square and flat. If it was a cube, you'd have 8 corners. If it was a sphere, you'd have no corners. It's not like round and flat. It must be square and flat. Is that what we can read here? After these things, I saw 4 messengers who stood on the 4 corners of the earth, and they held the 4 winds of the earth, so that the wind blew not on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on the trees. It's not going to blow on the earth, the sea, or the trees. And I saw another messenger, verse 2, and he came up from the rising of the sun, and he had the seal of the living Elohim. What is the seal of the living Elohim? That word seal is het tav mem, just like seal the book. And he called out with a loud voice to the 4 messengers, to whom it was given to hurt the earth. To hurt the earth by having no wind? The earth and the sea, saying, hurt you not the earth, nor the sea, nor the trees, until we have sealed the servants of our Elohim upon their foreheads. How do you close something up? Hey, is that having your pineal gland glazed over? Like, is it to say you don't want that thing opened? If the word seal is an object, a stamp, I think there was a TV show where there was some space alien type of creature, guy who had a big symbol, kind of it wasn't stamped, it was almost like, not a tattoo, it was almost like a hot iron. It's some symbol on his forehead. I don't know what it was for. I never watched that show, but I know there was a picture of that. Is that like the type of thing? What's the seal of our Elohim? Verse 4, and I heard the number of them that were sealed, 144,000. That's where this comes in, Revelation chapter 7. Sealed from every tribe of the Israelites. Just so you know, the word tribe is not what you'd expect. It's Shin Resh Bet Tav Hey. Well, if Shin is a prefix, then you get rabbit, Resh Bet Tav. Well, Resh Bet, great, many, important. Shin Resh, that's Sar, that's prince, important prince. Bet Tav, that's daughter, important prince, daughter. How's that the word tribe? Well, see, it's not Hebrew, it's Aramaic, so maybe that's the word for tribe. But the it also is spelled Shin Resh Bet Nun. Shin Resh Bet, and just want to show you, because if you try this, you'll think that you're running into all kinds of trouble. It's not trouble, it's just the way it is. Shin Bet Resh in page 637 of Klein's dictionary. To look out, inspect, examine. To look out. Like a spy or a watchman. It also means he hoped for or waited. To hope. It also means to break into pieces, broke or fractured. He destroyed or demolished. If you take an old car to an auto wrecker, they're going to tear it apart piece by piece and resell the parts. Was torn, was rent, was smitten, destroyed, demolished, humiliated, broke, shattered, smashed, broken, brought to the birth, caused to break out. Sheen bet resh. That's looking at Sheen resh bet rats. Hang on. Yep, Sheen resh bet. Sorry, I got the wrong word. That's shiver, like in the shiver me timbers. Sorry about that. Sheen resh. Thought it also meant to hope, but let's see. Sheen resh bet. To glow or be parched, to get sunstroke. Burning heat, parched ground, to stretch out, sheen resh bet, prolong, let hang down, inserted in the wrong place, stretching out, prolonging, enlargement. What's that got to do with tribe? Stretched out, prolonged, inserted in the wrong place, burning heat, parched ground, sheen resh bet. Sheen resh bet yod tet is rod, staff, or scepter, a conductor's baton, drum major's baton. So you could say that that's kind of like a tribe, but that's not the word. It's a derivative of the word. What I'm saying is that there might be something else going on when you can't find what it says. Okay, so then you get 12,000 of each of the tribes. And I noticed that the tribes are not in the birth order. Verse 9, after these things I looked, and lo, a great multitude, which no one could number, after the 144,000, from all kindreds and nations and tribes and tongues, who stood before the throne, before the Lamb, clothed in white robes and palms in their hands. It's like, well, wait a minute. They sealed the 144,000, 12,000 from each tribe. And then after these things, like he started off chapter 7, after these things regarding chapter 6, so it's a whole nother matter. He saw a huge multitude from all kindreds and nations and tribes. So there was something about sealing the 12 tribes, the 12,000 from each tribe. And then something's going to happen. And then there's a whole bunch of people standing before the throne and before the Lamb. And that's where the word standing before the Lamb and clothed in white robes, it's like, doesn't look like the word for lamb. But anyway, let's move on to verse 10 of Revelation 7. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, salvation to our Elohim, to him who sits on the throne, and to the Lamb. So what they're actually saying here in this verse 10 is Pei Vav Resh Kuf Nun Aleph. And they're saying it means salvation. But what it means is that it's the same word for auto dismantlers, broken into parts, break off, tear away, unload, deliver. What? That's Vav Kuf Ayin, Yod Nun, that's speaking. Bekola, there's the voice. Rava, great loud voice, saying, Pei Vav Resh Kuf Nun Aleph. Porkna. Lamed, Aleph, Lamed, Hey Nun, unto, then the Nun suffix would mean like Nun Vav in Hebrew, hour, Elah. Vav, Lamed, Dalet, Yod, Tav, Bet. Well, that would be unto the Lamb. Dalet, Yod, Tav, Bet. You can't find that word in the dictionary. Ayin, Lamed, unto Kaf, Vav, Resh, Samik. Well, that's the word that we ran into last week that meant belly or gnawing or chewing, translated throne. Ve Lamed Aleph Mem Resh Aleph. vala amer, saying. But see, it ends with and to the Lamb is Aleph Mem Resh Aleph, the Lamb. Remember, they previously said Mem Resh meant master. Maria Mem Resh Yod Aleph is Master Yahweh, and here's Aleph Mem Resh Aleph, and it's like doesn't line up. In Revelation 7, if he's hearing these people with a voice with millions that nobody can number, and they're all saying this great sentence: salvation to our Elohim, to him who sits on the throne, and to the Lamb. Well, did they say that or did they not? So I was looking at that, and it says, broken into parts, break off, tear away, to deliver, remove, dismantled, Lamed Aleph Lamed Hey Nun. Well, that's to our Elohim, but it might be by Allah, or accordingly power, then Vav Lamed Dalet Yod Tav Bet. Well, Tav Bet Hey is an ark, a box, a hull of a ship. Dalet Yod Tav means to ink, like writing ink. It also means to exude or sweat. Lamed Dalet Yod, laddie, is like to bear a child. But see, they're saying it means to sit. Well, Shin Bet is the word to sit. So here this must be Tav Bet. So if you're trying to say, look, at Aramaic and Hebrew are the same, no, they're not. But the fact that it's written as these letters, what if I could read it as trying to tell us something? Broken into parts, break off, remove, dismantle. According to Allah, Allahan, according to what he said was our power, dismantle what? The spelling of words, perhaps? Take a word, break it into bits, like shiver me timbers, that word which is to hope or expect, hoping and expecting that everything Yahweh said would be true, is going to happen, and was written in ink, his finger on tables of stone, but in ink with, what else do you write with ink? It's the things written. Dalet Yod is the word die, or it's enough, sufficient, or okay. It's when everything is according to what our Elohim said, upon Ayin Lamed, or yoked with Kaf Vav Resh Samik Yod Aleph. Well, the Kaf Vav Resh Samik, belly, armchair, chewed not, devouring, milling like milling wood, throwing it in a shaper or a joiner, and just carves everything off except for just the right shape. Kind of like what I was saying that we should be doing with the letters. Prefix, suffix, get down to what is the root word and what does that root word mean. So I was just trying to take some time here to illustrate the process of doing what verse 10 seems to be saying. And in the last word, Vav Lamed Aleph Mem Resh Aleph. Well, Mem Resh Aleph, that's the word master, but it also means fat or stuffed. Well, is that the word they mean as lamb? I mean, the fatted lamb is the one that you cook or that you have for family coming over, but it also means to soar or fly high, to lift off. But Aleph Mem Resh, well, that's the word amar, which means to declare. It's translated to speak or say, but like Declaration of Independence, a great, fine, high utterance. So it's a picture of antlers, like elk antlers, sweeping up into the air. You'll see in the definition of a mare that it can mean fine, high utterance. Antlers. And again, to pull all these words together and say, these are great, majestic words. They're not just mem lamed lamed. Dabar is a word, a spoken thing that has something following, the blessing of the curse, the pasture, or the plague. It's more than that. These are like incredible, majestic words. And again, this is Aleph, Vav, Lamed, Aleph, Mem, Resh, Aleph. But Resh Aleph Hey is to be put on exhibition, to be shown a vision. So you could say, these voices of all these people, are they maybe saying something like this? Dismantling the words of our Elohim, and seeing that the ink is like this ship or a box, a container, where sits the essence of sufficiency, the Lamed Dalet Yod Dai, the what is sufficient, and that upon or yoked with sitting down and chewing and devouring. And remember, he said in Revelation 10, take this scroll and eat it, and it'll be sweet as honey in your mouth, but bitter in your stomach. Like that word Aleph Mem Resh, bitter. But in the vision, Lamed Aleph, Mem Resh Aleph. Well, Lamed Aleph means not. Mem Resh, bitter, not bitter. Because it's not a something of grief, it's something of, well, this is the truth of how to fly, how to soar up into the heights of his promise that we have a hope for. We'll run through one more thing and then we'll take the first hour break here. Verse 12, that was verse 10 of Revelation 7. Verse 12, it says, Kaf Dalet. There's that word that can mean like even so, but it's just like, it's not in the dictionary. Amer, that's the word declare. Amen. And then here's this word Tav Shin Bet Vav Chet Tav Aleph. Well, Shin Bet Vav Tav Chet, that's in the dictionary. It means praise, like Hod. Laud, laud. Laud in like cum laude, if you graduate with honors. Improvement, raised in value, glorified, congratulations, excellent, best part. Amen. This incredible best, like somebody graduated from college cum laude. And blessing, vav bet, vav resh kaf, tav aleph. Well, resh kaf also means rock. Resh kaf, not resh kuf here, but resh kaf is tender and delicate and sweet, soft. And chakma, wisdom, and then vav kuf vav bet lamed. Well, that's the word complaint and grumble and battering ram. Receive opposition. And it's the word for contractor. If you're a contractor, you got to figure your job is to present things that the homeowner doesn't want to hear. This is the price of what you want to do. This is what you want to do, but this is what you have to do, be given this and that consideration, and this is what you might do. I've been told many times that the job I've done is too many words. Just shut up and do it. Don't tell me, just figure it out. And it's like, it all depends on what your objective is, what you want to spend or don't want to spend. But the contractor is the opposing one. And it means to compare or draw parallel between. Well, see, these, I believe it's the angels saying this in verse 12. They're saying this about Yahweh's avot. Amen. That means faithful. Cum laude, shin bet vav chet, shavuch, glorified, raised in value, blessed, bet vav resh kaf, wisdom and battering ram. Draw a parallel between tet yod bet, well, tet vav bet is good, so this is fitting and good. Vav aleph yod kuf resh aleph. Well, aleph kuf resh hey is fortress or citadel. Yod kufresh means to rise in price, precious, dear, costly. The first three letters, va'ikra, vav yod kufresh aleph, of Leviticus, va'ikra. And he called, rise in value, precious, dear. But see, kufresh aleph also means learn to read. And then the word vav chet yod lamed aleph, chayil, ashat chayil, Proverbs 31, called this praiseworthy, valiant woman, military, virtuous, wait, hope, move in a circle, world, dance, and anguish. Vav, ayin, vav, she, noon, smoke or anger. Lamed, aleph, lamed, hey, noon, our Elohim, lai, olam, olamin, forever, universal, Amen. So see what we have here, Revelation 7, verse 12. This is what the verse 11 says, and all the messengers, all the angels stood around the throne, and the elders and the four creatures. That's quite a party gathering. And they fell upon their faces before the throne and worshiped Elohim, saying, and this is what they're saying. This is the way it's translated. Amen. Blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving, honor and power and might be to our Elohim forever and ever. Amen. Blessing and glory. But wait a minute. We just read that. It says, laud, raised in improvement and blessing. So see, they said, instead of glory and blessing, they said blessing and glory. Why change it? Raised in value and blessing and wisdom and thanksgiving? That's the word complaint, grumble, battering ram, receive opposition, like a contractor comparing the parallel between good and fitting. Thanksgiving and honor and power, raised in price for learning to read, military, oh, there's power, and smoke or anger, and might, that's not even there. Elit ayin shin vav nun. B'der Elohim forever and ever, amen. Well, what are these guys saying? If I look at a couple key words, if Aleph Yod Tav means spell words phonetically, letter by letter, and if Aleph Vav Tav means a letter of the alphabet as a sworn oath of this is the way the universe is built, and this is just the way it's going to be, then I can see this word down here, Vav Aleph Yod Kuf Resh Aleph. Aleph Kuf Resh is the fortress or citadel, is learning how to read. Kuf Resh Aleph. Then learning how to read is this incredible fortress militarily. Ket Yod Lamed. Good and fitting. Tet Yod Bet. In Revelation 7, verse 2, vision after that, the angels going up from being quiet, the sun. Well, being quiet, mem dalet nun chet yod, ma danachi. Well, that's where the sun sets. That's where the rises from. That means east. Sun, shin mem shin aleph is, but it's also a virile servant. And the next word is vav aleph yod tav. Hey, that's to spell a word, lamed hey, of her doing, and then the seal of Elohim. Living, chet yod aleph. We'll go into the second hour here. We'll take a break in just one moment. I just want to say this. So if this is saying after this, chazit achron, milak, angels, dalet samik lamed kuf, go up, ascend. It also means remove, renounce, died, or paid off. But samik lamed means to exalt, curl, highly esteem, and something about hidden weapons in a cache. In other words, there's something of great value hidden and highly esteemed about spelling words. And that's the seal of our Elohim unto life, of the living Elohim. And then call out with a loud voice to multiply those who respond, who dare to venture to capitalize. What, in other words, what I'm saying is that could it be, if you sit there and break this apart, that it's not, okay, go out and stamp this insignia on the forehead of 144,000 people who happen to be 12,000 from each tribe. It's like, well, who gets to be those guys? Because everybody else is going to be in really big trouble and get killed and tortured and tormented in the tribulation, except for these 144,000 who happen to be Jehovah's Witnesses that were born before a certain year, because 144,000 are already, the places are already filled, and we that are alive now just don't have a shot at that. Or maybe it's saying something else. So we'll look at that in the second hour. Let's go ahead and take a moment break here.